Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. We're almost through the week, and we're almost to our last day of virtual learning, hopefully for a while. But we're going to move on to a new section today. We're going to Chapter 3, Section 4, Graphing Linear Equations in Standard Form. We will have some more notes on this tomorrow. I'm going to split it up into 2 days, so we'll just do part 1 today. So let's just jump right in. Let's talk about horizontal and vertical lines first, and standard form of a linear equation. The standard form of a linear equation is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are real numbers, and a and b are not both 0. So, a, b, and c are just numbers. So it could be 5x plus 4y equals 3. That could be standard form of a linear equation. Let's consider what happens when a equals 0 or when b equals 0. So if a equals 0, the equation becomes by equals c, because 0 times x would just be 0, so that would just be by equals c. Or if I solve this equation for y, divide both sides by b, y would equal c over b. Because c over b is a constant, c and b are just numbers, so dividing it would just be a constant, we can write it as y equals b. Similarly, when b equals 0, the equation becomes ax equals c, because 0 times y would be 0, so I don't need that term. Or x equals c over a, and once again, since c over a is a constant, you can write it as x equals a. So I just want you guys to think about that, because that leads into our next topic, horizontal and vertical lines. The graph of y equals b is a horizontal line. The line passes through the point 0, b. So if I have just y equals some number, like y equals 3, y equals 5, there's no x there at all, then the graph of that is going to be a horizontal line, and it's going to pass through whatever that number is. So that's why the line passes through the point 0, that number, because that would be somewhere on my y-axis. Same thing except for x. The graph of x equals a is a vertical line. The line passes through the point a, 0. So if it's just x equals a number like x equals 3, then that's going to be a vertical line. There's no y value there at all. So the line would pass through the point a, 0, which would be through my x-axis. So if it's y equals just a number with no x in there at all, it's going to be a horizontal line. If it's x equals just some number with no y, then it's going to be a vertical line passing through my x-axis. So a little way that I like to remember it is called hoivux. So the H on hoi stands for horizontal line. It's a horizontal line. That O is actually a 0. The slope of a horizontal line is 0. And it crosses the y-axis. And the equation is y equals some number. So let's say I had the equation y equals 5. The equation is y equals some number, so I know it's going to be a horizontal line crossing my y-axis, and it crosses my y-axis at that number. So it's going to cross at 5. So I can put a point at 5 on my y-axis. And since it's y equals some number, I know it's going to be a horizontal line. So it's just going to be a flat line going all the way across through the y-axis at 5. So the slope of a horizontal line is 0. Horizontal line takes on the form y equals some number. Vux, as you probably have guessed, the V stands for vertical. It's a vertical line. Some of you may know this already, but the slope of a vertical line is undefined. That's what the U stands for on Vux. And then once again, in this case, it crosses the x-axis, and equation is x equals some number. So let's say x equals 3. Since it's x equals some number, I know it's going to be a vertical line crossing my x-axis at 3. So I can put a point at 3 on my x-axis. Since it's x equals some number, I know it's going to be a vertical line going through that point on the x-axis. So that's how we graph horizontal and vertical lines. So you need to make sure you know the forms of horizontal and vertical lines and how to graph them. So let's look at example 1, horizontal and vertical lines. It says graph, letter A is y equals 4. So if it has a y in it, you need to think to yourself, is this hoy or vux? Well, hoy is the only one of those words that has a y in it, so I know it's going to be hoy. So now I got to think about what hoy means. Hoy means a horizontal line. So I know it's going to be crossing my y-axis somewhere. Well, I know it's going to be crossing at 4. It's going to be crossing through my y-axis at 4. So I put a point at 4 on my y-axis. The H on hoy stands for horizontal, so I know I have to draw a horizontal line through that point on my y-axis. Try to make your line a little bit straighter than mine. Mine's not very straight. But that would be a horizontal line going through 4 on my y-axis. Let's look at letter B. X equals -2. Got to think about if it's hoy or vux. Well, vux is the only one that has an x in it. This is x equals a number, so I know it's going to be vux. I know it's crossing my x-axis at -2, so I'm going to put a point at -2 on my x-axis. The V stands for vertical line, so I know it's going to be a vertical line through this point. And there's my graph of x equals -2. So hopefully that's a decently easy concept for us to grasp. If it's x equals a number, it's a vertical line going through my x-axis at that number. If it's y equals some number, it's a horizontal line going through my y-axis at that number. So let's move on to our next concept, using intercepts to graph linear equations. You can use the fact that 2 points determine a line to graph a linear equation. So I don't know if you've ever heard this or not, but all you need to graph a line is 2 points. So 2 convenient points are the points where the graph crosses the axes. So if it crosses my y-axis, it's called a y-intercept. If it crosses my x-axis, it's called an x-intercept. So that's what this is talking about right here. The x-intercept of a graph is the x-coordinate of a point where the graph crosses the x-axis. It occurs when y equals 0, so pay attention to that. Anytime I have an x-intercept, it's crossing my x-axis somewhere. The y value that's associated with all those points on that x-axis is 0. So my x-intercept occurs when y equals 0. The y-intercept of a graph is the y-coordinate of a point where the graph crosses the y-axis. Similarly to my x-intercept, my y-intercept occurs when x equals 0. That's because it's where it crosses my y-axis. Any x value on this y-axis is going to be 0, so my x-intercept occurs, or my y-intercept occurs when x equals 0. So to graph the linear equation ax plus by equals c, we want to find the intercepts and draw the line that passes through the two intercepts. To find the x-intercept, let y equal 0, solve for x. To find the y-intercept, let x equal 0 and solve for y. So if you're trying to find a certain intercept, you replace the opposite variable with 0. So to find the x-intercept, I replace y with 0. To find my y-intercept, I replace x with 0. So let's look at an example real quick. Use intercepts to graph the equation 3x plus 4y equals 12. So let's find our x-intercept first. Remember, to find our intercepts, we replace the opposite variable with 0. So to find my x-intercept, I'm going to replace my y value with 0. And just solve my equation for x. 4 times 0 is 0. 3x plus 0 is 3x. To get x by itself, I divide both sides by 3. X would equal 4. So my x-intercept is 4, 0. My x value is 4 because that's what I got x equal to. I substituted y with 0, so I put 0 in for y. So my first ordered pair, my x-intercept, is 4, 0. So I can put that point on my graph. Now let's find our y-intercept. Remember, we replace the opposite variable with 0 to find an intercept. So to find my y-intercept, I replace x with 0. So 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 12. And now I can solve my equation for y. 3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 4y is just 4y. To get y by itself, divide both sides by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So y equals 3. I know my y-intercept is 0, 3. I substituted 0 in for x, so I know x equals 0. I got y equals 3, so 3 is my y value. So my next ordered pair that I can graph is 0, 3. So those are the only 2 points I need to actually connect my line, to make my line. So I just draw my line through my 2 points, and I have now graphed this linear equation. So I'm hoping today is not too terrible. Hope we all understood that. To find your x-intercept, replace y with 0, solve for x. To find your y-intercept, replace x with 0, solve for y. And then I can graph those 2 ordered pairs and draw my line through those 2 points. Like I said, tomorrow we will have more notes over this, so be prepared for that. But for today's assignment, we have page 133, numbers 1 through 21 odds. I think we have 2 assignments due tomorrow. So let's make this assignment due Monday, February 22nd on Canvas. So make sure you're working on your assignments that are due tomorrow. Make sure you're working on this assignment. Please let me know if you have any questions. That way I can help you out. We can get you to understand it a little better. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Keep staying warm, and we'll see you next time.